Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. I, 25, male, met my girlfriend, 25, in junior year of high school. Let's call her Kelly for the sake of the post. Kelly and I hit it off immediately and had a lot in common. From our interest in gaming, love of music, and food, all these shared interests caused us to bond tremendously, and that too very fast. So by the time we were in the middle of junior high school, we started developing feelings for each other and going out. And I honestly had thought that our relationship was stronger than ever. I felt my love for her and her love for me growing every passing moment of our relationship. I thought what we had was meant for life. We were meant for life, and that the ability to triumph over all these problems, arguments, misunderstandings, and disagreements we had faced for the past 9 years would be examples to our children because they definitely were to the people around us, meaning our friends and acquaintances. But boy, I was soon to find out that this relationship that appeared to be so strong, unbeatable from the outside, was nothing but hollow from the inside. It all started a couple of years back during the pandemic. Kelly got bored because she wasn't working as she was pursuing her master's. So Kelly started making online friends. And honestly, that wasn't even a red flag because she was an extremely social person who craved interactions all the time. So while I was working 8-hour shifts to save up money for the big fancy wedding that she wanted, Kelly started joining servers on this app called Discord. Not sure if many of you all know about it, but anyways, she joined a lot of servers regarding gaming and music and immediately made plenty of friends. I was so happy for her because after a long time she seemed happy, but it was only for a while because soon enough my happiness was going to turn into grief at the expense of her happiness and her newly found friend. To be specific, her special friend. She met on the same app as she met all her online friends. Let's call him Andrew for simplicity. So, yeah, Andrew and Kelly began talking and hit it off immediately. Like the two of us, they too had a lot in common. And honestly, by the way she spoke about it, it'd only make sense as to why she talked to him so much initially. All until this friendship quite literally started depleting the quality of her life. She would stay up all night for him because of their different time zones, skip doing the chores that we previously split, and just stop doing the things she previously used to be tip top at. And not just that, though. She did an amazing job at blaming all of it on her mental health, her depression, which she previously wasn't suffering with. And although I gave it to her, pandemic was not easy on us at all. The fact that her depression would only come out when it was time to do the chores or spend time with me said a lot. Still, she was the love of my life, and there was no way in hell I was going to let her be there struggling like this. So I told her to find herself a therapist, and I began paying for it. She apparently had her therapy sessions every week as I was at work. I did not find any changes in her with the therapy as about a year had passed, and whenever I would ask her about it, she would blow up at me for making her feel bad about herself. This is what embarked the beginning of a very explosive relationship between the two of us, and we would not stop arguing there onwards. Then it just happens. It's about 2 years since Kelly and Andrew have met. At this point, I have suspicions of my own as well regarding the two, but never in a million years would I have thought that things were as bad as they were. Well, I did find that out, though, when Kelly sat me down, telling me that we needed to talk. My heart fell in my stomach. I just knew at that moment that our relationship was over, but in a way that I would never have imagined, even in a million years. She told me that she was done with me and my behavior towards her. How even though she had thought she loved me, 16-year-old, her didn't know the true meaning of what real love was because she hadn't met Andrew yet. According to her, the connection between her and Andrew is one she's never felt before, and with that, she just left. There was no further explanation, no response to my calls, no nothing. She even took away a huge chunk of the money I had saved for our wedding, and I couldn't do anything except freeze my account so that she couldn't access it again. I had no idea what happened to her because she went nuclear silent. Not just her, though, but her family as well. But at that point, I was so done with her that I didn't bother a bit to even contact her. I just started living my life, and honestly, it was a great time to be not living with a piece of work as her. So it's been 6 months since all that happened, and this is where the real situation starts for me. A couple of weeks back, I received a message from an unknown number. Hell, it wasn't even from the USA, and guess what? It was none other than dearest Kelly, sobbing her heart out about missing me. I didn't even bother to read all the BS she wrote in there, except for the part that said she was returning back to the USA and wanted to talk to me about things so that both of us could get closure. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want closure to all of this. So I agreed, and we met up 2 weeks back at a local cafe. The moment I entered the cafe, it took me a bit to recognize Kelly because she looked like she had aged twice within the span of 6 months. She looked stressed and depressed, and honestly, the moment she told me the reason behind her condition, I wasn't surprised at all. She vented for a long time, gave me so many details, which honestly I wasn't a bit interested in. And call me evil for this, but hearing about her misery after all the trouble she put me through was satisfying, to say the least. Apparently, Andrew was not only nowhere as rich as he made it out to seem, he didn't even look like much of the pictures he sent to Kelly. Hell, if it wasn't Kelly, I would have almost felt bad for the person because Andrew truly seemed like a douchebag. Because to put the cherry on top, he had a whole girlfriend of his own, and messing with women and getting money out of them was like a side hustle for him. Kelly was devastated, to say the least, because she wouldn't have found this information out at all if she didn't snoop through his phone when she became suspicious of him. She then began crying over her sob story and, for the first time in months, apologized to me. But of course, it wasn't out of genuine feelings. It was from her wanting to get back with me to fix things because, after all, everyone makes mistakes. I immediately told her that I wasn't interested in her anymore, that she had made my life miserable enough in the past 6 months, and that I wasn't going to take her back just because things didn't turn out the way she wanted them with her lover, boy. She blew up at me, berating me for being a horrible boyfriend for not supporting her at her worst before leaving the cafe. I sat there stunned as I paid for the bill awkwardly and left, thinking she would leave my back because at least I made this clear to her, but no, that was just the beginning because soon after, as soon as I got home, my phone began blowing up with texts and calls from her parents and friends, all berating me for breaking up with her and not taking her back. I was dumbfounded. How can people support such an act? Are people that blind? I'm really confused here. Was my decision that surprising? AITA for what I did? Hi all. A lot of you had rightly pointed out that I needed to speak to a friend or her parents about this situation, and after giving it a thought with much hesitation, I decided to phone her elder brother, who I was quite friendly with when I was in a relationship with her. Him also being the only person who didn't berate me over text and didn't spam my phone and social media like a crazy freak, I sort of knew he was the person I should go speak to because he seemed pretty mature and neutral, and he really was because that's exactly what he told me. He told me that knowing me, he didn't want to jump to a conclusion until he knew what the real deal was, and so we have decided to meet up soon. This situation is a total headache, but at least it is nice to know that someone outside my circle cares enough to hear me out. I met up with her brother today, and boy, you guys were so right. Kelly had completely flipped over the story, making me the bad guy in this situation. Apparently, she went out of her way to tell everyone that I had cheated on her, that I was the one who broke up with her, and I was the one who flew out to Europe to meet my internet girlfriend. I was stunned at the level of low she had reached, and immediately told her brother everything, from the start till the end. He was just as shocked as I was, with the total differences in our story. Our conversation lasted for straight 3 hours as we started to connect our stories, how it made sense to them, why Kelly had gone literally no contact with them for straight 6 months over a misunderstanding, and why she had told them to not contact me either, then using the same reason to tell them that it was my idea and that I had told her to do all of this as a tactic to abuse her. I was infuriated at this and couldn't help but confess to him about all the money she had stolen from my bank account at that point as well. It was heartbreaking to see her brother's reaction. The guy is truly a good man, and not just him. His entire family seems like, it's full of good people. He immediately wrote me a check for the money that she had stolen, telling me that he would repay any other damages that he had done, including the fake therapy sessions. I told him not to worry about it and just thanked him for being so understanding and patient when no one would. He replied that was the bare minimum, and we simply just went about our separate ways. I'm currently home typing this all out, and honestly, it feels great than ever to get validated for once. I'm not sure what's going to happen to Kelly, and honestly, at this point, I can't get myself to care about that a bit. I had posted on this subreddit a year ago and had completely forgotten about it since the day I posted my last update. It is only today that, as I was cleaning out my house and found an old picture of Kelly and did I remember our mess of a relationship and decided to check out this account, and was surprised to see so many of you all still checking up on me and commenting on this thread. Thank you so much for that. Well, Kelly got her karma because her brother told everyone the truth. Apparently, no one except for her mom wanted to side with her, and her dad was disgusted at her for that. So much so that their own marriage got into trouble for that. I feel sorry that her dad and brother have to be surrounded with such toxic people. Hell, even all of her friends who found out the truth through her brother went out of their way to come and apologize to me. So I can only imagine how good it must have been for them to remove such toxicity from their lives, because it did, at least for me. I'm just glad that this nightmare of a situation is now over, and I'm now blessed with good people in my life like Kelly's brother and dad as my friends. Not just dad. I have started seeing a girl who seems to be as similar as me. Not expecting too much out of it, but hoping for the best. Thank you, kind strangers. NTA, Kelly is a horrible person, and OP shouldn't feel one bit of empathy for her. Good on you for staying strong throughout the entire ordeal. NTA, the moment OP mentioned Discord, I just knew where this story was going. I'm sorry for your loss. You can do so much better. My brother has always been on some higher moral compass BS, and it's the norm in the family at this point. Everyone knows he's weird, ASF, but it's just accepted. However, I forgot just how weird it was for other people outside of the family. We're blessed in many ways, yet he doesn't live it. My parents forced me to bring him with me, or I wasn't allowed to go on the trip as he has to be there to moderate things. It's me, my friends, and him. First night in, and everyone has their tents set up, including him. My friends came over to me and said they didn't know what my brother was doing and that he had been laying next to his tent on the ground for 15 minutes. I had to explain how he does that all the time and it's some BS spiritual thing. Even at home, he literally sleeps on the ground next to his bed, mattress. His belief is that there's an animal inside him that tells him what to do, and the more he listens and obeys that animal, eventually he would become a slave to his desires. BS. He eats next to nothing and only eats foods he dislikes to try and torture the animal. He puts himself in uncomfortable situations 24/7 to never be obedient to this apparent animal. God. So we're 3 days in, and my friends are all terrified of him and are asking if he could leave. I've tried explaining this is how he is all the time, but they're not listening. I've told my parents of the situation, and they are firm with the whole he has to be there thing. He gets up at stupid times, 4 a.m., to work out. We're on a holiday resort, not serving 24 years to life in a maximum security prison. One of my friends got up at 4 to pee. It's pitch black, and a figure comes running at him. He starts screaming at the top of his lungs, wakes us all up. Turns out it's my brother running this imaginary track he's set up. God. The list goes on forever. Ultimately, I need him to go home. Best way to do that? I can't let this trip get wasted due to him. Help, please. We've taken him to many therapists over the years and nothing has worked. AITA? All I want is a normal, fun trip, one in which everyone is comfortable. Is that too much to ask for? Brother is being his usual weird self and ruining the holiday. How to get him to go home? Does this make me an a-hole? I just want a normal holiday. NTA, but your brother is mentally unwell. I assume your parents need a break from him, and that's why they insisted he go. Nothing you describe falls within the parameters of normal behavior. He's suffering delusions that negatively impact his whole life, and your entire family is pretending like this is totally normal behavior, and that's just how he is. Your friends have every right to be concerned for their safety. What if the animal inside him gets control and convinces him that you're all going to kill him? He is not well enough to distinguish reality from his delusions right now, and that makes him a danger. The sad part is he doesn't have to live this way. There is help out there. You obsessing about him ruining your trip rather than being worried about his mental health is heartbreaking. YTA. Your brother is seriously mentally unwell, and you all pass it off as he's always been this way. He would never hurt anyone. He's just weird. After reading your comments, you're just looking for someone to validate what you want without actually listening. He needs specialist help because previous therapists gave up because it's not what they specialize in. You know what would happen if someone ran at me in the dark. They'd probably lay there bleeding until I found enough guts to call an ambulance. You're lucky your friend is a screamer, and the fact you think they're overreacting and sleeping in shifts because they don't feel safe shows you need therapy too. Long story short, my mother-in-law, 70, seems to me to be suffering from some kind of early onset memory issues. This has been ongoing for at least 5 years. I've spoken to her about it, and my husband has spoken to her about it, but she just says it's normal for her age. It's not. She will sometimes agree to go see a doctor, but by the time she gets home, she has forgotten she agreed, and we just have the same conversations over and over. I'm actually not sure exactly how much she forgets and how much she pretends because it's easier. Note, I've told my husband he needs to fly to see her and take her to her doctor, but he doesn't. At a point, she's not my mother, and if neither her nor my husband are willing to look after her health, how much more should I do? She has a lot of trouble connecting with our boys. She desperately wants to, but won't listen to our suggestions and just does her own thing. Like, she's bought 3 of the same board game for our 3-year-old, 1 per year since he was 1. That's ages 6 and up, and gets frustrated that he can't play. She also always says, "Soon you can come and visit Grandma and we'll have so much fun," to my boys. That's obviously never happening. The only time I've asked her to keep an eye on my 3-year-old out, she forgot and wandered off, leaving him unattended after 10 minutes. I was nearby and noticed, so I got him. He was never in danger, but I don't trust her to be the responsible adult. I always just make a non-committal sound. But I think if I said I would never even consider it if she doesn't see a doctor about her memory, so we have an idea of what's going on and what to expect, it may be the motivation she needs to go. But it feels manipulative and petty when I won't allow it anyway. What do you think? WIBTA? NTA, I think you need to be honest with her. Let her know until she deals with her own health issues she isn't capable of caring for small children. This may be the wake up call she needs to see a neurologist, but if not, don't back down when the safety of your children is at risk. NTA, but I think you need to be careful how you word this. If you just say you won't send them until she sees a doctor, you'd better be sure you're happy to actually send them if she does. It sounds like you wouldn't be comfortable sending them in any circumstance, so maybe approach the doctor topic from a place of concern and separate it from the conversation about a visit. Maybe you suggest you all visit and make a specific plan to go to a doctor while you're there.